Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village. The award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007. Find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com. Ike Eisenhower State Farm. Ike and his award-winning team have been serving the insurance needs of folks all around Hot Springs Village since 1998. Ike has qualified for State Farm's President's Club, Chairman's Circle, and Hot Springs Village Insurance Agent of the Year. Call Ike Eisenhower State Farm today at 501-984-4100. That's 501-984-4100. Find them online at ikeeisenhower.net. Call them today for all your insurance needs because, like a good neighbor, Ike Eisenhower State Farm is there.
When you know you have somebody in charge of crisis control, they have a whiteboard on the back.
That's right. That's right. You can't live without a whiteboard.
Mr. Ken. I'm sorry, Ken, say that.
I said you can't live without a whiteboard. You can't have a disaster without a whiteboard.
No. Diane and I've been watching back episodes since we've had a little time, being snowed in and such. But we've been watching back episodes of Big Bang Theory. And they have these huge whiteboards. And secretly, I'm a geek engineer in the background, and I'm like, now what would that look like over by the fireplace? I may need a whiteboard.
But sometimes just don't use permanent marker. That's the only advice.
A permanent. Oh yeah. Just the dry erase.
That's right.
What does it look like when you have a crisis and Todd Knowles texts you at 4:30 in the morning?
You have a problem. You have a problem when Todd Knowles texts you at 4:30 in the morning.
He usually waits at least till 5:45.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We had done a drill on our disaster recovery plan tied to our dams and our general EOP at the end of the year. And, and I generally laugh about drills, not because they're not important, but, when you live in the village long enough, you're going to have enough disasters each year that you'll be able to affect your disaster plan without fault, without fail. And
you will have a test whether you want to or not, right?
That's right. So sure enough, we activated our EOC bridge that morning. I came in at around 5, and the beauty of that whole episode, outside of the 1,000 people plus that had no power was, by 9:30 that morning, all the crews that mobilized had removed, well over 300 trees off the roads, and so for many residents in parts of the village, they didn't even know that there was really anything going on as a result of the actions of the POA employees. So it was an outstanding effort. It was a great execution of our EOP as far as opening our bridge and getting resources assembled, getting them rolling, and cleaning up quicker than most people probably would have expected. So and we even had power. We even had the utilities engaged early. So they had known the storm was coming. They were somewhat staged. And when we notified them that morning, they were ready to go and got power back fairly quickly to, those impacted residents. So it was,
now let's be very specific here. That was not the winter storm. That was the rainstorm before it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the prelude. That was the prelude storm to the winter stuff. That was the 60-degree storm versus the 0-degree storm that we went into Sunday, which, again, there, I give kudos to our teams, PD, fire, streets, common property. We had a multi departmental effort there that started actually on Sunday. So, most people don't realize it, but we pre-stage for these events. We're watching the weather. That's why you see those email blasts come out from us. And we actually had our crews out sanding and preparing the roads prior to the start of that storm. So, while, there were certainly, and a lot of this is expectations. I mean, there's people that probably move here and don't necessarily understand, about the POA and our, how we're equipped and what our charter is. But, I try to tell people, our charter is life safety. We're focused on main roads. We're focused on helping public service, public safety. And unfortunately, we had a lot of incidents where we were supporting public safety rather than plowing and sanding side streets. But from a main road perspective, our teams did an impeccable job. They were on it. They worked 12-hour shifts. They slept some cases in the office. Todd did several nights. So there was a Herculean effort around what happened this past week, and it's just rolled into now the rains and to the potholes. But you can always do better. But I think our approach to this, what I would call extreme weather that we don't usually experience was about as good as we could expect, given the resources we have. So,
well, Randy is the co-host here on Hot Springs Village Inside Out, and he makes note that he works with city municipalities all over Texas, right? He's a consultant to them. And his comment is that, the vast majority, I'm talking 90% plus, if they turn on the water tap and it works, and the mail comes and the power works and the streets are paved and the ambulance shows up, we're good. We don't need anything. But in the back, you guys are actually practicing for a worst case scenario. Okay, well, what happens if? Because, the last thing you want to say is, wow, I was really surprised by the storm. It's okay if I say that. It's not okay if the municipality says that, right?
Sure. And, and that, brings up another point. Our utility people were preparing. They were out there in that cold helping individuals whose pipes had frozen where they could to make sure that they had service still. So, there was, a wholehearted effort on the part of the POA to try to respond to this. And for the most part, outside of people complaining that they couldn't get out of their street, our teams, did a heck of a job staying on top of this and doing what they could to ensure that those basic services and ability to people were there. So, the one thing that's kind of interesting here, and I see this in certain areas, but the storm really brought it out, was that there were days where there were people on the east side that probably didn't have a problem getting out, because we had the main roads pretty clear, right? So they were like, you would hear them or say, oh, there's no problems in the village. You can get out, don't worry about it, but you go to the west side, you go to the north or south, and you're up in the mountain areas. Yeah, those people don't have the same experience. Mm-hmm. And, our residents hopefully need to expand their view on what the emphasis of the village and how big it is, and the different environments that exist here, and make sure, as a community, we're not putting people in harm's way by what we're saying, because, we put out multiple messages. Don't go out unless you have to. And I can tell you, the one day we had 30 people that we just helped PD and fire respond to, and that's where the plows have to go, because they got to get people in there to help these people. So, when we say something, it's for your best interest. We don't do it to kind of keep you cooped up. We're trying to keep you out of trouble.
Well, so one of the things that people don't know, I'm here on the west end. We're on Lake DeSoto, one of the larger lakes on this end. The only DeSoto golf course is by us. I'm roughly at 850 feet. Across DeSoto from me, it rises to well over 1,100 very, very quickly.
Yep.
But when you come in the east gate, you're around 500 feet. Yep. And many times, Diane, who works in the Hot Springs Village in the Valley of the Vapors, I will call and say, honey, it's getting bad. You need to come home. Oh, it's just raining here in Hot Springs. And I'm like, you're not listening. It's a completely different thermocline here. And it's not only that, it's a thermocline from the east to the west very quickly. Yeah. I tell the story that it was a rainy, drizzly day, kind of a beautiful, foggy day, but, kind of gray. I got in my car and there was fog around here and everywhere. Got in my car, left my house, went a quarter of a mile to DeSoto, crossed on DeSoto, went up Valencia, no, Ballina, I guess.
Mhm.
Went up Valina, got up toward the top, had not gone a half mile. The road was completely iced over. Every tree was bent over. Every pine tree was covered in ice. And I was not a half mile from my house.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. I have a friend who lives back here on Macero over by Lake Lago, right? He
Yeah.
complains for days. Nobody's plowing our streets. Nobody can get up there, man. You'd
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
crawl on your
Literally. I
hands
mean,
and knees to get there.
yeah, we have, in the POA, we have, several plow vehicles. We have two sanding vehicles right now. So, we got 468 miles of road, 115 miles of major roads, and we have two sanders with plows on them. And then we have some other plows, but they're not equipped to, try to get up some of these roads. So you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, we wouldn't do more than that, honestly. People are like, well, you need to prepare, you need to be prepared for events like this. Well, if that's the case, then everybody here should own a four-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive. They should all have snow
Hmm.
shovels, and
Hmm.
they should all be prepared for
And
it themselves,
chains.
right?
And
And
chains.
chains. So they should all prepare for it themselves if that's true. So it's not true. We live in the South. This was an anomaly event as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully we won't have
Yeah.
anything like this the rest of the year. And you can see from the potholes how extreme it was because almost last time we had a snowstorm that we lost, we have potholes galore like it's happening across the state. So this was definitely hopefully a once in a 10-year event or longer.
Mhm.
And
Hopefully.
we don't want to invest our money in a fleet of snow plows and sanders that get used once every 10 years. So
Yeah. Well,
but
so a lot of people will say, you see the average farmer. Ken, I'm like you. I'm a problem solver. I'm certainly not an engineer, but I'm a problem solver. And I look at a farm and I think they've got 50,000 acres that they need to harvest once a year or maybe twice a year. And they're going to spend $1 million on a huge combine, or they're going to rent one, or they're going to just make allowances to do it over a few days. That's it.
mhm.
We're exactly in that scenario. We don't need several $1 million snowplows for a once in 10-year event, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a resident, I don't think that's a good investment of our money for sure. So, we're going to do the best we can with what we got. And, hopefully people will work with us on that and do what we ask. And then the event will be over and it'll be 55 degrees or 63 degrees. What is it today? 63
Kind of
and,
nice, isn't it? Kind of spring-like, isn't it?
yeah, a little bit spring-like. We'll see how long it lasts, but it
It
is
wasn't like
Arkansas.
weather was trying to kill us last week. It was just, trying to kill us. It was just, fatally low in temperatures, right? I
Yeah,
saw a
yeah.
lady on Facebook who had it was on well, it was Facebook, yeah, who had commented that she saw no reason whatsoever to drip her faucets. That was silly. She was from Wisconsin, and they never had to drip their faucets. So Randy and I did a little outtake on this, but I'm sharing this with you. And
Hmm.
my first thought was our house sitting on the lake. On the as you look at the house on the left hand side, there's a water line that comes down. That water line is probably buried between 12 and 14 inches deep, right? It comes into the basement on that side of our house and goes across to the other side of our house to where our bedroom is. That's the furthest terminus, as we would say. I
Hmm.
always leave that water dripping. If the water flows through everything else, it ought to make it there. We ought to be okay, right?
Right.
We're out of town. One of our maintenance people has the doors open, the cabinet doors open. They're dripping water at all the faucets. We come home after 3 weeks because we've been on a cruise, and when we get back, we're snowed out.
Uh,
I walk in and there's no water dripping at all. I am now nervous, Ken. I'm now
yeah, I'll
nervous.
bet.
I turn the faucet on a little longer and I hear a it was beginning to freeze in the line.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
literally, we showed up in time and turned it on and it came through. No problem, no damage, no nothing. Now, I think Miss Wisconsin probably has a friend now, and his name's the plumber, right?
Yeah.
Because on the trip we were actually on a cruise. We get off, we go meet some other people, and they're from Quebec. And I asked the guy, I said, we have typically we'll have an R19, a R value of 19 on our ceilings and our walls. And he said ours are R90 from Quebec. And the
Mm.
other thing that went through my head for Miss Wisconsin was, if I'm not mistaken, Ken, in higher northern climates, you don't put water pipes on the outside wall. Is that correct?
I wouldn't think you would. I mean, I certainly wouldn't, you know?
Every one of mine is here in the village because we're in a different thermocline. We're in a different climate condition, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's not something you take into consideration what happened this past week when you're, you know, designing anything here, frankly. You don't over design for something that happens, you know, once in a blue moon. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not common sense. So yeah.
Well, and it's silly. It's even. Let's go down to one of the nurseries, the garden nurseries, and I guarantee you they have a range of plants that are designed to live in this kind of weather. And last week was not this kind of weather.
Right. Yeah.
So you'll have dead plants that wouldn't have died any other time of the year, but they weren't ready to get down to 3 degrees or 6 degrees for any prolonged length of time, right?
And that's right. They have zones, you know, plant zones, they call them, I guess, basically where
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
adaptable to. And if it gets outside that normal zone range, they're gonna have a problem. So
So if anybody wants to buy me some resilient rosemary and help me, because I'll be needing to replant that soon. I'm just letting you know that
we covered
rosemary
ours.
last year. Yeah, yours too, right?
We covered ours, so hopefully it survives because we did lose one of those like 5 years ago in a
Yeah.
similar.
Well,
Not
Kim,
quite as
I
bad
tell you
event.
what, thanks for this episode. I appreciate it. I wanted to talk about the weather. We'll join with you again soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
good one.
Kim.
Thanks for watching and listening to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast starring Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com.